Hi, and welcome to the master class for scale usage. Okay, first of all, you are going to want to take a lot of notes on this lesson, so get ready and get a pen and paper. Also, be prepared to pause the tutorial many times because it's basically going to move relatively quickly. Okay, at any point during this lesson you're finding it that it's just overwhelming and you don't understand, it's probably because either you skipped over some tutorials before getting here, you didn't quite understand some tutorials, and then you skipped over some. My suggestion is this: go back, do the tutorials again, get the basic foundation, the knowledge before you get to here. This is a master class. That means it's jumping from the basic level to the advanced level of understanding on how to use scales for improvisation, melodies, creating your own musical lines, etc. So you definitely need the foundation of the previous videos and tutorials to understand this lesson. Okay, so what I did was basically I wrote down the fretboard up to the 8th fret. I sent you two pieces of paper. One's basically the two sheets are pictures of the fretboard. This is one of them. By the way, this one's in color, so it should be kind of brown or light brown. But if you notice, here's a G, C, E, A, G, C, E, A, and then what I did was I just wrote the letters, only letters by itself on the fretboard. And any other ones that were like sharps or flat, I just left them out. And the other one is basically the same thing, but it's in black and white. So it looks exactly like this paper over here. Okay, but they're both diagrams of the fretboard for ukulele, and once again, at the top you see G, C, E, A. At the top you see G, C, E, A. And then I wrote in the notes F, A, D, B, G, and C. And exactly the same, F, A, D, B, G, C. And that's just for the first position. And then you can see it goes up and it follows exactly what this is. I just once again left out the sharps and flats and only wrote in the solid letters. Okay, so all I need is solid letters. So if you want, you can probably grab this sheet of paper and just highlight all the solid letters. Okay, so they're easier to see. Okay, and so you can compare it with this. I'm going to use the diagram on this board here to talk about this. So all these notes here that I wrote down, okay, are in the key of C. And when playing, okay, so when let's say when a seasoned or experienced player or musician is playing, they think musically, they think in the whole grid, or the whole fretboard. So when you're using these scales that we learned, they're thinking in the whole fretboard, not just the scale. So for instance, okay, so I'm going to show you the first position C scale that you've already learned, so this should just be review and easy. So the first position C scale is right here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Once again, first position C scale, which you've already learned. Pause the tutorial, go get your paper on the C major scale, come on back. Okay, so C scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Hopefully you have your C major scale diagram out with you as I play it. Starting here with open third. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. One more time. Okay. That was the C major scale. That was the first position. Now as you go up the fretboard, it may not sound like a scale. However, these are all the notes that's in the key of C. So in other words, if you're playing a melody, an improvisation, a lead line, you could play any one of these notes and they will basically sound correct in the key of C. This example is in the key of C. Okay, so we're taking the most basic example, the easiest key and the easiest scale to learn this example. And I'll talk more about some advanced ones later so you can understand the difference. But for this sake, key of C, this is all the notes that work. So the C scale that you have already learned is this first position. Okay, and then I'm going to start my notes on the third string because I don't have a low G string. If you do have a low G string, I would strongly suggest, and you're very fortunate, to play your notes starting from the lowest string. Okay, I don't have a low G, I have a high G. So it sounds better if I start from my third string. Okay, for those of you who have a low G string on ukulele, you know, these are one of the advantages for having a low G string. I'm going to start all my notes from from here, from the third string. Keep in mind that you can utilize your high G string. Just keep in mind it's a higher G string, and that your melodies don't normally resolve or descend to a high note. Okay. So the next position, it could be, you could start creating positions, meaning scale positions from any pattern. Okay. So let's say the next one I started from the D. Okay, so I'm going to go slow, write this down if you have to. So the next position that I would write would be D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then the D. Okay, keep in mind it's not a C scale. This is a scale. I'm going to just use this terminology. It's another scale in the C scale. There is a name for it, but I don't want to get into it because it's just going to confuse with too many names. So just keep in mind it's still part of the C scale. It's just a scale within the C scale. Okay. The whole idea of this master class is to introduce you to how experienced players play. Okay. So that's the point of this class. So this position right here, I'm going to start from the D. Here we go. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Once again. So I went from here. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Okay? So that would be maybe the second position. And the fingering that they use here, I went with the first finger. Okay. Next position is right here on the 5th fret. We're going to go from a C to an F. C to an F. So you're going to go C, D, E, C, D, let's see, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Excuse me, let me try that again. We're going to go from an F to a G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Yes, that's it. We're going to go from an F to an F. Okay? On the 5th fret, F to an F. Fingering for that is... Okay? Keep in mind you can descend too. I'm not going to descend, but you can descend. You have to go back in that same order, yeah? F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F. Okay. So I know that's a little overwhelming, but this is a master class, and you're taking notes as we go. Pause the tutorial, write it down, replay it. Okay. Now, getting back to how experienced musicians think and play. When they play, they're thinking the whole grid or the whole fretboard. Okay. It's your responsibility to learn the scales and practice the scales. Okay. This is the whole diagram of all the notes that are possible to play in this key. Okay. And this is just one way of looking at it. There are other ways of looking at it to decide to play. So in other words, some people like to play around the chord. In other words, the notes that are in the chord, they'll play the notes that are in the chord. Okay, there's various ways of playing, but I'm trying to teach you the idea that when people are playing, they think when experienced players play, they think in a larger concept, okay, in a bigger idea, okay, not just a small idea. So this is a bigger idea. So I'm going to break it down to an example. Okay, so maybe let's just say that you live in a house right here on D Street. Okay, so this is where you live, and then you want to get to F restaurant or F drugstore or F supermarket. So you're going to find you know it so well, right? Because we're thinking in a bigger concept, and if you think about it, wherever you live, you know how to get to your store or your favorite restaurant or your favorite shopping mall, whatever it is, and you probably know different routes to get there. Okay, it's the same idea. You must know it so well that you can go to different routes to get there. Okay, from where you live, or point A to point B, or where you want to go. Okay, now keep in mind, this is just an example. It's not to teach you any melodies or any kind of licks or improvisations or anything. It's just an example to teach you on how musicians think when they play. Okay, so I'm going to start from a D, and I'm going to get to F. Okay, so in other words, my goal, or the way I'm thinking, is to play from here to here, or like that's the musical concept that I want to express. So I'm going to play from here to here, and the notes that I'm going to play are only the notes in this section. And to break it down, I'm only going to use 3 strings. So the C string, the E string, and the A string, and I'm going to play notes on those 3 strings to get from D to F. So let's say I'm here on a D, and I'm playing. Okay, so there's my F. So I've gotten from my D all the way up to my F. Okay, and that's the route that I took. So that's the basic idea. Now let's say that I wanted to get from F here, F to F. Okay, so it's another route, but I'm descending, and the musical expression that I'm trying to do is to get from the F to the F. So here's my F on the 8th fret. So my musical expression, once again, this is just an example, is not to teach you any kind of licks or melodies. Okay, just an example to give you an idea. F, and I'm getting to my F over here on the 3rd string, 5th fret. So here's my F on the string, and maybe I want to end with an F chord. Okay? So once again, the first time was getting from a D to an F. Okay, and I just kind of skipped around and then got to an F. The idea is that I was familiar enough, or I am familiar enough with my scales, the positions, enough with it, whatever route that I chose to get to my destination, I could get there no problem. Okay, so once again, like getting from your home to your local shopping mall or drugstore, you know all the various streets to get there if you have to. And then descending back, let's say you want to get from that point to a new destination, which was in the second example, and that's how the train of thought goes for people that are trying to create melodies. So in other words, learning the scales is the basics to understanding maybe the fingering and how to get a concept of the scale pattern. Okay, and then what he taught in this class lesson was the positioning. Okay, so you're starting from the basic C position. Then we started from the second position from a D, getting to a D. And I showed you the fingering for that, and then I showed you another positioning from an F, getting to an F. Okay, so think of it as different positions. So I think, to me, I think the ukulele is small enough where you can create your own positioning. I showed you 3, well you already know one, the basic C position. I showed you 2 more, starting from the D to the D, and the F to the F. Okay, so once again, this is a master class. It is a little advanced. Actually, it is very advanced, and you may want to watch this tutorial many times, and then get a fair understanding about this. And from this point, if you do want to further learning more scales and patterns and positionings for playing, you're probably going to have to maybe pick up some books or go online to YouTube or go to the library. Library is a great source. That's kind of how I started when I was playing other instruments on scales, and then just transposed it or transferred it musically to ukulele. Keep in mind that there are many scales. This is just one scale pattern for the fretboard. So in other words, these are the notes for the key of C. Okay? These are the notes to play for the key of C. Keep in mind there are many keys. In other words, there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? And each one of those has their fingering pattern. Okay? Then there's pentatonics, there's minors, etc., and they have other fingering pattern. But I would say that if you can start with this, okay, and learn this formation or the forming or the pattern of these notes, you are really off to a good start, because in a nutshell, all the other keys, basically this pattern, this exact pattern just shifts up. Okay, so in other words, if this were the key of D, write this down. If this were the key of D, this whole pattern would shift 2 frets. This whole pattern would shift 2 frets. So in other words, okay, you would start your scale pattern from here, from that C where the C is, it'll be over here now. Okay, and the whole pattern would just shift up 2 frets. Okay, so if you can start with this, really understand it, as you learn the different keys and different patterns and different fingerings, they're basically just a pattern. Okay, just this pattern moved. Okay, keep in mind the other styles of scales follow a different pattern, and once again, once you learn the basic pattern, okay, you just got to shift it when you go to a different key. Okay, so they'll follow basically the same patterns. Okay, please watch this tutorial many times, get to understand it. And this is probably the last of the lessons on scales. I know it was maybe a little overwhelming, maybe a little hard to understand, but it did jump from playing scales, understanding scales, jumping into a master concept of how people really play with the information of music and scales. Okay, so I really hope that you benefit from this. I hope that you learn something, and hope that you can take this knowledge and go further. Okay, we'll talk to you later.